But first, here with reaction for such a time as this, Kayleigh McEnany, along with Fox News contributor Lara Trump. Lara, we'll begin with you. You know, the one issue of energy alone, I think, and I've said this before, your father-in-law did not get enough credit for, keeping prices of production low. The cost of filling our tanks had never been lower. Heating and cooling our homes had never been lower. That means the cost of transporting goods has never been lower. Now, everything is flipped and flopped, and it's never been higher.
That's right. Well, you heard Joe Biden happy to give out an apology earlier about the Paris Climate Accord. He does owe quite a few apologies, Sean, and he could probably start with the energy workers. Remember who about a year ago he lied to, saying, you're not going to have to worry if I become president. You're going to keep your jobs. Well, what did he do? Day one, canceling the Keystone XL pipeline, putting thousands of energy workers out of a job. And to your point, making sure that America was no longer a net energy exporter, no longer energy independent like we were under President Trump. We are now relying again on the Middle East, on Russia for our oil. I mean, think about the implications of that from a national security standpoint. Forget just what it does cost-wise here in the United States. But how about also, Sean, maybe he could apologize, I don't know, to the family members of the 13 soldiers killed during his botched departure from Afghanistan. How about an apology to every single border state, border town, I don't know, basically every city and town in America right now, because these people are overrun with our fully open border. He has not just allowed people to come into America illegally. He and Kamala Harris invited him in when they campaigned. They said, come on, doesn't matter where you're from, come on over our southern border. You don't have to follow any rules. He could also apologize maybe to the mom and pop shops out there who've had to close their doors now after they survived an entire pandemic because of the supply chain shortage that he himself and his energy policies have caused, as you just pointed out. How about the thousands of workers out there, thanks to his vaccine mandates, who are without jobs? These were the heroes of last year, our frontline workers, our nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers, who now are without a job or are about to lose their job because of his vaccine mandate. He could also probably apologize to our children, because our children are being indoctrinated all across this country thanks to Joe Biden and the Democrats and what they believe in with critical race theory, a poison that teaches our kids to judge one another based on the color of their skin, not on the content of their character, to hate one another, hate their country, and then to label their parents as domestic terrorists for trying to find out what their children are learning in school. So Joe Biden could offer up quite a few apologies, Sean. Those are just a few he could start with.
Oh, I look at this, for example, we're looking at the video of Joe taking a little nappy today, Kayleigh, and I know you have a young one at home, so I know, some people need to sleep. President Trump used to refer to him as Sleepy Joe, but he needed an aide to walk over and wake him up. That's how bad it got. Yeah. And then he apologizes to America. So I'm not really sure what I'm more embarrassed about, our president falling asleep and needing a wake-up call, or the president apologizing to Europe when we had the lowest net emission standards under Donald Trump, and he could have been lecturing them about how we were able to accomplish this.
Well, both are embarrassing. I can say this, Sean. It appears in this video here that some days, apparently Joe Biden naps longer in public than my daughter, Blake, who's upstairs, naps on any given day. I mean, that was a rather long time to have your eyes closed during a huge climate change summit. Remember, Sean, this is an existential crisis, one that is such a crisis that we need an 80-car motorcade for Joe Biden. We need John Kerry traveling on private jet with his family, emitting more CO2 in just 6 months than the average American driving a vehicle. It's such a crisis, though, that Joe Biden, in fact, will nap through it. This is exceedingly embarrassing. It's why in the polling from NBC today, it's not just Democrats underwater on nearly every issue. The economy, historically underwater daughter more so than any time since 1991. But systemically, people believe this president's incompetent. He can't handle crises. On each and every metric of being able to lead the nation, he does not prevail. And one thing I can say never happened to me at the podium, I never stood there when Republicans were saying they wanted another nominee other than President Donald J. Trump. Jen Psaki, next time she goes to the podium, she'll be going there with more than 60% of Democrats saying maybe we should look into someone else as our nominee for president. Wow, what a state of affairs for Joe Biden.
And Donald Trump would say, no, you're going to pay your fair share. No, we're not going to sign bad trade deals anymore. And Europe ended up doing everything Donald Trump wanted and made better deals for the American people. Kayleigh, thank you. Laura, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.